Welcome back to the Hawks Eye. There we go. For a state.
Good start.
I know, right? Like, I'm totally back. Trust me, the internet will be fixed, guys, before the end of the week. There's been some stuff done at the house here. I got to deal with that. So apologies for that throughout the night, but it will be fixed. I'll have wired Ethernet soon, so there won't be any issues. But outside of that, Mike's joining me. We're running State of the Hawks tonight because our normal co-host of State of the Hawks, Mookie Alexander, is currently in Santa Clara running into all sorts of people down there for the Super Bowl week. And if you ran into KJ Wright today, apparently, who was not wearing any Seahawk or 49er gear, just in casual clothes. So at least KJ knows to kind of keep it even keel. But outside of that tonight, everyone, we are going to talk a bit of the OC situation for not so much that obviously we now know that Clint Kubiak is going to be the Raiders' next head coach. More along the lines of who me and Mike think could be possible potential solutions for that to keep this Seattle Seahawks offense chugging along into 2026 and 2027. We're going to talk what decides the Super Bowl. We're also going to talk who's under more pressure, what are the expectations between these two teams, and who are some X factors, and what the Super Bowl win could mean for Seattle. And then, as always, we're going to jump into the super chats and all the comments in the chat there from you guys. Looking forward to that. Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Super excited to talk about the Seattle Seahawks with you, my buddy Bryce, in the Super Bowl. Like when you approached me forever ago about helping out, being a part of this show, like it'd be like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. Like this will be a fun year, and we'll have the whole off season to kind of talk about the draft and how we're gonna. All right, we made the playoffs and we won a playoff game, and like, holy shit, man, we're in the Super Bowl. We're 4.5-point favorites. I know we're gonna talk about it, but like this is it. And like people think we're gonna, like, not everyone, I understand that, but like the majority of people think we're gonna win. Like it's such a crazy concept. We didn't have this crazy wild card ride where we upset some people, like not really any injuries impacting it. Like, no, man, we kicked the freaking door down, slayed our rivals, and we're playing. I told you, everyone that's in the chat right now to the left of me, I'm at a hotel. I'm on a business trip right now in Atlanta. In my hotel room right now, as I'm talking to Bryce, I've got Super Bowl 49 is replaying, and I'm going to avoid it. I'm trying to, but it's also very nice to see because it's like, man, Sunday's going to just be, it's a reckoning, right? It's like Doc Holliday and Tombstone. Like, it's not revenge we're after, it's a reckoning. And I expect this to be a really fun game. I think most people think it's going to be close, and I totally respect those opinions, but I feel good. I feel really excited. This is just a very unique Seahawks season, unlike anything we've ever experienced. And this is a unique team that all the drama is really unique stuff that doesn't really impact the players, in my opinion, too much. We can talk about Kubiak and stuff, but like, it's just such a lovable team. And it all just feels like we've talked about, this all just feels like a year too soon, but hell, man, we're here. Might as well win the whole damn thing. Right.
100%. And just because we're now in the Super Bowl kind of window here, I finally finished the new intro video, which all of you gave your kind of thoughts, pieces on what you wanted. So we're going to have this huge discussion after the new intro.
Looks inside, it's caught! Touchdown! Make an extra point! Make a conversion! I don't care what it is! The Seahawks win the game again! Play faking him, Sam is going to roll left. Looking, Sam throws, back of the end zone, is it caught in bounds? It is! Touchdown! Seahawks!
We did not care! It's always been about us and what we do.
love
All
it.
right.
Woo!
You seemed a little jacked up about that there, Mike, and the
I'm ready.
additions I've made. So everyone in the chat, let me know what you think. If there's some tweaks that need to be made, let me know. But generally, that's the one. I had to take out the Beastquake run from Mike's speech. It just felt right. It felt like that was the one thing that could kind of switch that. And I kind of got to go with it. Mike saying we did not care is kind of like a staple. Like that is just the new thing for the Seahawks. And, there's something I really want to kind of talk about before we get into even the OC conversation and everything else, Mike. I want to talk about something Mike McDonald did and John Schneider did with this team, which I think is really kind of an interesting thing. And we always wondered why that LOB team or even teams after it could never really live back up to that expectation. There were so many times we're like, hey, we're dealing with the LOB 2.0. And, we had the Tedrick Thompson and Shaquille Griffin kind of era.
Yeah.
And then we had the Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, Trey Flowers era of Seahawk football. And I think something that's really interesting about that is during that time, and don't get me wrong, I get Pete was the head coach still, but they had so many things in that building that were all about the LOB constantly. And if you recall, Mike's first year there, they changed a lot of that interior of that building. They got rid of a lot of that stuff. They still had it, but it was on TV screens and it would kind of play in and out. You didn't have massive wall murals of it.
And that was a big deal, remember? People were kind of upset about it.
They were really upset. And I kind of looked at it, and at that time, too, I was kind of like, oh, this is a really risky move for a first-time head coach because if this goes sideways, it's going to look really bad. And, I wonder if it might have been one of the single biggest things Mike McDonald did because it kind of wiped the slate clean for this new era to finally actually begin, right? You've got the dark side and the MOB, and you've got all these, different things that are coming out about this team and how unified this team is. It's not that they're forgetting about the LOB, but now they are the MOB and the dark side, and that's their era now. Like it kind of just, it finally felt like they went in the right direction with it. So these guys didn't have to live in the shadow of the LOB. And I thought it was really fitting too. During the NFC Championship game, they had Richard Sherman kind of introduce the 12th flag being raised. And he even said from the LOB to the MOB. Like it was finally like that passing of the torch of like, okay, we get it. It's your thing now.
Yeah, no, I think it's just like we talked about. It's just crazy to see just kind of the angst everyone had. It's interesting because everyone wanted Mike McDonald, right? They wanted Mike McDonald or Ben Johnson. And then it was like right away Mike McDonald gets the job and everyone's like, oh, well, why is he not like, praising the past? Why is he doing this or that? It was like, no, like if you were going to take over for Pete, it's the same thing with Vrabel, like with New England, which is, interesting who we're playing and stuff. Like, I think Vrabel's done a good job of like, yeah, there's pieces I'm going to take, but this is my team. This is my era. He rarely ever, like, even in his media day stuff, Vrabel didn't want to talk too much about the past. He was always like respectful, but he wanted to talk about this team. And I think that's also like with Mike is it's very easy to allow yourself to be held hostage by the good and the bad of Pete Carroll and LOB era. I think the Seattle Mariners is a very good example. I think for about 20-something years, they allowed themselves to be held hostage by 95, 2001, and they just always talked about how much fun that time was instead of like, no, we need to like figure it out and figure out how to make new playoff memories and stuff. And they did that. And it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and a lot of mistakes and errors for the Mariners. The Seahawks, it was literally just making the decision, right? Pete, we're going in a different direction, and they chose the right coach. And John realized he had to make changes as well, and that's what's led to some incredible drafting and free agency moves. And then also it was them understanding when things weren't working out. And like I just with Ryan Grubb and stuff like that and certain offensive style, and like it hasn't always meshed exactly with the fan base, but they're winning and there's no drama. And so this fan base has fallen in love with them, despite the fact the team probably hasn't been built the way we all thought or wanted it to be built a year and a half ago. And there's some famous, or not famous, but like popular players that aren't on this team anymore, and they're not playing on Sunday. because this team is. And that's because Mike and John created something new. Like, I know people make fun of how many nicknames we have. I'm fine with it. Like, they're trying to find something new. It is all about building an identity and a culture. And I heard an interesting quote today. Culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? You can have an incredible plan of how you're going to build an incredible business, how you're going to execute a plan, or how you're going to run a franchise, how you're going to build a great team again. But if the culture's not right, it'll eat it for breakfast. And I think that is something that it took us probably about 5 or 6 years to realize with the Seahawks, is that barring something drastic, trading Russell Wilson, moving on from Pete Carroll, a complete change in identity of how we attack personnel and stuff. Like right here, Mike and John built a juggernaut. They absolutely did. And it started with culture. And you feel it. You feel it in the media day. You feel it in the interviews. I really just feel like the guys they've brought in, Tank, Leo, Cup, Sam Darnold, like the guys they drafted, this is just a team. I know I'm rambling here, but like, I think this is a team of absolute dogs, and they are young and they are hungry and they have enough veterans in the key spots that you want to have, that the culture just came together in basically less than a year and a half. And now I think it is unquestionably the best team in football. And that doesn't mean shit when you play on Sunday. You got to beat the New England Patriots to win the Super Bowl. But I think without a doubt, anyone would be lying if they didn't tell you that the Seahawks are the best roster and best team in the NFL.
Well, not if you listen to a bunch of Patriot people that seem to think that Seattle didn't have that hard of a schedule, or, you know, all the other lovely things that we're hearing out there right now. But the one thing I will say too that I kind of interesting about this whole change, being at the Super Bowl a year earlier than a lot of us expected, you look at what they pivoted off of. They pivoted off a certain culture. They pivoted off of certain culture pieces and players. Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett, you know, DK Metcalf, people that, you know, we thought were going to be, especially like a DK, we thought was going to be a core piece for years to come. Still.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you make all these drastic changes and you get a stronger team, a more bought-in team to the MOB mentality, which is the mission over bullshit. And that's the thing, that this might be, outside of 05, the least amount of drama ever around a team that Seattle has had that has made this type of run. The 05 team, the only drama you could really think about that was Steve Hutchinson was playing in this final year of his deal. You had the MVP in Sean Alexander. You had Pete Carroll. You had, you know, Mike Holmgren and Matt Hasselbeck, and that group just, you know, clicking on all cylinders. And you had a defense. And I would say the real drama piece actually of that season is probably the night of the Texans game, where Ken Hamlin gets in the fight in the club and gets his skull cracked and he can't finish the season. Yep. Outside of that team was drama free. You come to this year, the only drama you had on this was trade deadline. Are they trading Reek? And is Reek going to really get, you know, his head on his shoulders properly? And he really did. But, you know, this is where I look at it and I kind of go, if this is the way that this culture is going to be set by Mike Macdonald, this team is going to be more consistent than the Pete Carroll era was, because you won't have the emotional ups and downs, because the players have a singular goal in mind. And, you know, you look at JSN and you look at, you know, people were asking him today, hey, you know, how does it feel to be offensive player of the year? And he's like, I don't really give a shit. Like, he didn't say that per se, verbatim, word for word. It was the politically correct, I don't give a shit. I want to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
And that's the mentality of this team. And nothing against New England, but I've been watching film and diving into all 22 and doing all those things. By the way, which on Seahawks Syndicate on Thursday, me and Brandon will be doing a little bit of all 22 breakdown, it sounds like, with some clips. So it'll be some fun there. But
it's very clear, isn't it, Bryce?
Oh, yeah. Well, I had Coach Derek on from All 22 Films, and we talked about it on a previous episode that's up on the channel if you want to watch that, where we talk about just how is New England's defense going to stop Seattle's offense, not the other way around. How is that matchup going to go? And it doesn't favor well for New England. Like, I look at this, and I was on the Fringe fans podcast today, kind of talking about, the matchup. And I said to them, I said, it's a situation where I'm not trying to say New England's an underdog, but you have to play a perfect game, and Seattle has to basically shoot themselves in the foot the entirety of the game for this game to be close and in a state where Seattle could lose it. Because we've seen Seattle do that. And how many points combined did Seattle lose their 3 games by this year? 9.
Yeah. No, this is
it wasn't like they lost. Yeah.
This is a underrated. And again, if they finish the job, typically it's just kind of different now with the 17-game season. But if you want to put them into the class of teams that won 14 games instead of we only look at the greatest teams of all time that have 2 losses. That's typically historically where the greatest teams of all time are the two losses or less teams. But the numbers back it up, and DVOA says it. There's a lot of numbers that historically prove it. If the Seahawks just win, obviously, but if they put on a show and they beat the MVP and then the MVP runner-up, there is a strong case that this is an all-time, this is a top 25, probably top 20, honestly. And I'm trying to be conservative as a Seahawks fan, but you're talking about probably more of a top 15, top 20 all-time NFL team. And that is the baseline. There's a lot of numbers that speak very differently to it. And so it's just crazy. It's just, I keep coming back to it. But yeah, like you were saying, the tape shows the Seahawks are a better team.
Oh, it does. And again, I don't think Seattle's going to maybe Super Bowl 48 blow these guys out of the water, but I don't know if this game will be close. Yeah. But the other part of this, and I think the interesting conversation is if Seattle does win this game and say they do it handily, is this team better than 2013? I think that's an off-season discussion that I'm going to have on my show if they win is, are they? If you stack the 2 teams up, it's not as far-fetched as some may think.
Yeah, I think that it's very difficult with comparing the eras, because at this point you have to say it is 2 different eras, right? It's been long enough that you have to say it's 2 different eras. And that team right now has multiple Hall of Famers, has way more star power. And that team had an attitude and an identity. Not that this team doesn't, but it's just hard to think right now. But again, like you said, the numbers stack up. These 2 teams, this is a legit, real case can be made that this is the greatest Seattle Seahawks team and the greatest Seattle Seahawks season of all time.
I think that's a fair statement and a fair discussion that we'll eventually get to have. So the one thing I will say that has annoyed me the most so far about Super Bowl week, and we knew it was going to happen, these reporters down there, get some bloody brain cells. Mike McDonald does not need to sit there and waste his time answering the same fucking question 4 times in a row about, hey, are you going to do this when you're down by 4 on the 5-yard line? Okay, the one guy asks it, and Mike kind of chuckles and goes, hey, is beast mode available? Okay, then it's done. It's over. Shut the fuck up and get to real questions.
Right.
Don't keep asking to the point where you actually annoy the coach.
Yeah.
Get on. This is what bothers me so much about some of these guys that get credentials, they get to go down there and get to be around this amazing event, and they waste the opportunity with those idiotic things for clickbait.
Yep.
Actually do your damn job if you're going to have that opportunity and not waste it. It drove me absolutely nuts because I just hate that part of the world that we live in right now where people think it's funny, and it's you have an opportunity to talk to one of the best defensive minds in the NFL currently. Who knows, could go down as one of the best defensive minds of all time at the rate he's going. And you're sitting there asking him about something where, again, the only person that has any connection to that Seahawks team of that play is the general manager.
I know. Yeah.
Get off that shit.
They
shut up.
They can't until the game happens. They won't.
It drives me nuts. But anyhow, I digress. I'm not going to sit here and ramble on. one of the one things that's annoyed me so far is seeing that and having Mike to go through it. Like, shut up and ask the guy a real question. So, all right, Mike, let's talk about this. Unfortunately, Dan Viens was wrong. I was one of the few people that figured he was gone and was holding out hope that I was wrong. He's gone. John Schneider basically let the cat out of the bag in his interview with the Insider, saying, you know, and Clint's going off to the Raiders and so on. But talking to people that I know that are connected within the organization, this isn't exactly catching Mike Macdonald and John Schneider off guard. They have kind of contingently been preparing for this for the last month of the year of the NFL season, knowing that this was going to be probably an inevitable outcome was Clint Kubiak. They didn't know it was going to be Vegas, but they knew there was a very high chance Clint Kubiak was going to be a head coach somewhere else. So they have started their contingency plan. However, what I'm going to ask you this is, how much of a distraction do you think this whole process has been for Clint this last week and a bit leading up to the Super Bowl? And do you think we'll see any sort of ramifications on the field come Sunday?
You know, it's a good question. My brain, when I try and go back and think about which OCs and DCs were leaving for the Super Bowl, it's not always the prettiest picture. I go back to Dan Quinn, who had an amazing 3 quarters against Tom Brady. And then that
injuries
hit, the wall just kind of hit. The next day he was the Atlanta Falcons head coach. Kyle Shanahan pitched a perfect game for 3
quarters,
for 3 quarters, and then didn't understand basic math. And played a role in his team losing the Super Bowl that they should have won. I think about the Philadelphia Eagles a couple years ago when they lost to Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Shane Steichen pitched, I would say, a nearly perfect game, if not for a couple fumbles. Eagles win that going away. Jonathan Gannon, I think at that moment, all Seahawks fans knew that we should not be afraid of Jonathan Gannon era in Arizona, as he was in Arizona. And his guys struggled that night after being the best defense in football all year. And then last year in the Super Bowl, Kellen Moore, I thought, was fantastic. And so there's some hits and misses. It's definitely not what you want to have. It is impossible not to think that there is some time, even if it's minutes, that has been taken away from Kubiak focusing on the Super Bowl for the Raiders. It's just, I think it's naive not to think that. But he is a guy that has grown up, born and raised in the game. He has watched his dad win Super Bowls as a backup quarterback. He's watched his dad win Super Bowls as a head coach and as an offensive coordinator. And so I think he's probably getting a lot of information from a lot of people that have been a part of his life, helping him handle this transition. His dad was partners with Mike Shanahan, and Mike Shanahan did this, won a Super Bowl with the 49ers, and then left to go and take a job elsewhere. So I think if this was like a new guy that's like burst onto the scene, didn't have a lot of connections and stuff, I would be a little bit more nervous. But I feel like if anyone's going to be prepared to handle it, it's him. And I also feel like, again, at the end of the day, this isn't like a defensive head coach that is more like a culture rah-rah guy. Like, I feel like Mike is like, hey, I'm taking care of my business. You take care of yours. And I think Mike probably knows that. Hey, I need to probably our team needs to probably pick it up just in case our offense is 5% worse than it's been because 5% of Clint's time has been taken away. That's probably how I would be thinking if I'm Mike Macdonald.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the boat of, I think Clint might have been more well prepared to handle this than most coaches because of the growing up in the game aspect of this, right? You know, his dad's probably sitting there being like, hey, and I think he was asked this by one of the reporters, and he kind of was like, you know, my dad told me if I'm answering and trying to figure out questions while the interview's going on, I failed. It should be, I just know this and I'm preparing for other shit, and we just talk and you either like me or you don't. And that's a good way to handle things. So what I'll now ask you, pivoting off of this, is how much of Seattle's offensive staff that we love so much this year do you think we're going to lose? Because I have a theory mind
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. What did you hear?
Were you asking what percentage of the staff we're going to lose on offense?
Who do you think's gone? Who do you think your top 3 guys you think are gone? We'll go with that.
I mean, I would assume half will go, right? I'm just kind of trying to hedge my bets. Does he take Janoko to be his offensive coordinator? I think we all kind of think the O-line coach will go, or the Dennison, right? Is that like I'm trying? I don't know. I mean, who do you? I think Janoko's going to be the offensive coordinator. I've heard that from a few people. I hope he's the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, but it sounds like Clint wants him to be the offensive coordinator for the Raiders.
So what I think is going to happen is what I've been told, and I talked to other people, other creators that I know are connected with similar sources to me. Seattle is really going hard, and some people may hate this name, and that's fine, but I think you need to really dive into the numbers behind it. They're going hard after Arthur Smith because that was Mike's original OC choice 2 years ago, before he got Ryan Grubb. That's who he wanted. And people can, think of the Arthur Smith in Atlanta, which is fine. I tend to go look at the Arthur Smith at Tennessee and what he did with Ryan Tannehill, who to that point could not function as an NFL quarterback, and what he was able to do with those offenses and how good they were down there, which was a good. And the transition of scheme is so similar. Arthur Smith runs the wide zone. Arthur Smith lives in condensed splits and lives in 12 and 21 and 13 personnel. And he lives in play action. Those are some things. He actually, I think, in some respects, has a better developed deep passing game than our offense currently does, which isn't bad. So you bring him in as the OC. The one thing you're also getting is if you do lose a John Benton, you are probably going to have a good shot at getting another good O-line coach in here that's worked with Smith in the past. Smith, even with his stint as an OC in Pittsburgh, people look at it and they'll kind of balk. Well, let's look at it this way. He had Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, and Mason Rudolph, sorry.
Yeah, made the playoffs twice.
Made the playoffs twice with those groups and did not have the array of weapons that Seattle has, or the quarterback play, or for a matter of fact, the defense Seattle does. So when you look at what Mike wants, he wants someone on the other side of the ball that can command that side of the ball so he doesn't have to worry about it. You listen to how he's talked about Clint right now in these press conferences, you hear that level of respect from him. Now, the other thing I've heard is the fallback plan is Outten. Is they would promote Outten to OC, and that way they keep the run game, which is the biggest part of this whole equation. It isn't the pass game, it's the run game, and it's the way we run the football is what Mike wants. Now,
do you think they would go Outten over Pete's?
I would think they'd go Outten over Pete's, yes. So, again, the way I look at this is what I think will happen. Janoko is going to go be the OC in Vegas. He's going to be the OC and the quarterback coach. So this is what this is how I could see this playing out, which would be interesting, is if Outten is named for, say they can't get Smith out of Ohio State, which, by the way, the whole Ohio State contract has no bearing on if he wants an NFL job. None whatsoever. They all have clauses generally put into them. The NFL comes call him, I'll see you bye. Same thing with Ryan Grubb when he came to Seattle. I think Outten makes sense because what you can do is you can make Outten OC. So now he has a upgrade. You then make John Benton O-line run game coordinator.
Yeah.
Now you put Kubiak in a bind of he can't bring John Benton over, because what I think could happen and what I think will happen is Rick Dennison will go. Because as much as Benton's worked 2 years with Kubiak, he doesn't have the same length of history that Dennison does. Dennison's kind of been the shepherd of Clint's career in a lot of ways after working with his dad for so many years. I could see Rick going and being his version of Leslie Frazier there more than John Benton.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then like if you told me, hey, you're going to lose Kubes and you're going to lose Janoko, but you're going to keep Pete's. You're going to keep Outen, and you get to keep Denton. Also, Arthur Smith's going to become like the head coach and let those guys do their things. Like I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And again, I know there's people in the comments that like are not for Arthur Smith and they don't like what he's done in Pittsburgh or Tennessee or Atlanta. I think you have to know the whole story in Pittsburgh and to see what he was able to achieve with the lack of weapons. And I think
100%.
And there is no excuse for Atlanta. Atlanta was a miss. It was bad. He's not he struggled
He's not a
to
head
be a
coach.
Yeah, he struggled to use the stars there. And
well, he did it because Bijan did have a good year, one of the years he was. But like,
true, I think
look at his quarterback
Kyle Pitts thing. It's the Kyle Pitts thing that everyone's pissed off about and stuff. And then also you go to Tennessee, man. He had a great running back and he had a great wide receiver. AJ Brown loves Arthur Smith, and AJ Brown was amazing coming out of college with Tennessee right away. Was an immediate impact contributor.
Yep.
And Derrick Henry had his best years, had amazing stuff. And that playoff run they had to the AFC Championship, I thought Arthur Smith was fantastic in the playoffs of knowing when to be creative, knowing when to be aggressive, knowing when to bleed out the clock on the Patriots and the Ravens. And if you guys remember, they went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs that year for about 3.5 quarters before the defense kind of gave way. The next year, they were an offensive machine. Their defense took a massive step back. It was COVID, kind of just a weird time. And if Tannehill doesn't throw an interception, didn't start having the interception problem that he ended up having, they probably win that game and stuff. And so who knows what that future looks like.
The big thing also in this, Mike, is, and I think this is where the conversation needs to be had. You do not, and I talked with Brandon Kane. Oh, unfortunately, I think we might have lost Mike here. I don't know if he's still here or not. But the one thing I'll say, when I was in Mobile and me and Brandon were having conversations off the show of Syndicate, the one thing that you don't want to do is bring someone that's never, ever, ever called plays to run the Ferrari, because this offense is not going to lose all of its talent. You're returning your 5 offensive linemen, all your tight ends. Your entire receiving core outside of Shaheed basically is probably coming back. And I would say there's a good chance Shaheed's coming back. You're bringing back Charbonnet, McIntosh. Yes, they're going to be injured. You've got Cartier-Wright and George Kalani. So all you're wondering is, okay, do we get K9 back? Because your quarterback room's all under contract anyways. You're bringing back your entire freaking offense practically. I don't want to hand the keys over to somebody that's never called plays. And there's people out there that'll be like, oh, get Udinsky, or go get, Shieldhaas from down in with the Rams.
Which McVay will block.
Yeah, he will block that most likely. He's just waiting for someone to do it. Mm-hmm. The thing for me is Mike wanted Arthur Smith originally for a reason. There's no reason he didn't. I've talked to people connected, and they've said the same thing, that now this is a pivot. And there was a comment here. I'll bring it up. I think it was from, here we go. Brian Myers. What makes anyone think Smith is the type to blow off his new gig? Shaking my head. Well, it's a little bit different. Arizona Cardinals coaching position and Ohio State are coaching a team that just came off a Super Bowl win. And you're inheriting a top 5 NFL offense, top 10 NFL offense with all the returning players, and the money's going to be better for you here too than at Ohio State. And so when I look at that, I go, yeah, I think there's a chance Arthur Smith comes back. Arthur Smith has had, I'm going to bring this up from Hawk Trooper here, he has had top run offenses in the NFL. He has, from his era. He definitely has, and they're there. Again, this is where I just look at it. Everyone's so, short-sighted.
Hawk Trooper, love him. He might be out. Like, this might be his burner, and he just really wants the OC job. That's
very true. Yeah, maybe.
Outen, we love to have you here, man. Hope you guys have a good day on Sunday.
Again, I'll be fine if they view that Outen's the right guy and they pivot to Outen. I'm cool with it. Mm-hmm. I don't like, and I know I really like Jake Peets, but I don't know if Peets necessarily has the run game acronym or acumen that Mike McDonald and this group's looking for. That's
Right.
the one thing.
I also
could see them do.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, like also the benefit of Smith is he's probably not getting a head coaching job for at least 2 seasons and stuff. And so maybe even I don't know. I don't think he was missed in Atlanta. But
No,
but
and
the
I don't
word
think
on him in Tennessee was that he was liked in Tennessee. I think he was liked in Pittsburgh. It just that was a dying corpse of a team that he was taking over.
Oh, 100% it was. And that's the thing. I look at it where, remember how we talked about Mike McCarthy, where we were like, hey, go get your Steve Spagnuolo?
Mm-hmm.
Arthur Smith might be that guy. He
Right.
could be that guy for Seattle, right? So, just a bit of a breakdown here on the Arthur Smith side of things. Like, when you look at his offense and what he was able to do with things, like this team through 2019, through his run there with Tennessee, they had one of the best elite runs or red zone offenses. They had a run offense that created defensive issues. Again, Belichick had trouble stopping it. And they had one of the most, to your point with A.J. Brown, one of the most explosive play action games.
Yeah.
He goes to a dying corpse with quarterbacks that are not functional anymore and still musters a team into, the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is where, for me, like, if it's Arthur Smith, he's my number one plan. And again, people that I've talked to that told me about Clinton being the number one pick last year were the ones that are telling me now how they're talking to Arthur Smith, trying to see how they make this work. And then the fallback is out.
Yeah. And the people that say that Smith isn't a running offensive coordinator, they were like 3rd or 4th in the NFL in rushing in 2019, and they were 2nd in 2020. And the only reason why they weren't first is because Lamar Jackson was in his prime apex rushing time. And then you go to Bijan, who had, like you said, good times with Arthur Smith. Everything else was shit. And then now he is in – who was the running back last year for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Who, like I'm saying, like that's what I'm saying, like there is enough evidence there, in my opinion, that Arthur Smith can be a good offensive head coach coordinator, which is what Mike McDonald wants, right? Because we are going to give him with arguably the most talent he's had. Do we have a Derrick Henry in his prime? Probably not. But JSN can be a version of A.J. Brown. This offensive line is very good. I think Sam Darnold this year is a better version of Ryan Tannehill, unless you disagree. And I think K9 has everything in his power to be a very special running back. So I don't know. I just don't see it. Whatever.
So here's the thing. So just ranking Arthur Smith's offenses when he's called them. 2019, their rushing attack was 3rd in the NFL.
Yeah. Okay.
Their passing attack was top 10 in efficiency.
Yeah, they were legit.
Okay. 2020. So the following year, his rank COVID year, he has the 2nd number rushing attack in the NFL. The passing attack was 4th. Tannehill was top 5 in efficiency. Right? So again, now you go to 2021 when he becomes the Falcons head coach. That was his worst year.
Mm-hmm.
They were 31st in running in the NFL the first year. In 2022, they went back up to 3rd in the NFL. The passing attack dropped, but look who his quarterbacks were. Mariota, Desmond Ridder. Like, Eden, and at that point, they still hadn't gotten Drake London yet.
Yep.
Then his 3rd year in Atlanta, he has a middle pack running attack, top 15, and a top 20 passing attack. So it starts to get better. Now, again, with the corpse he had in Pittsburgh the last 2 years, he still was a top 20 running attack and top 20 passing attack with quarterbacks that don't function. But when he had a quarterback and a running game and an offensive line and a weapon like an A.J. Brown, all of a sudden the offense functions and works just fine.
Yep. And this would be the best roster that he's
ever had.
Yep.
Top to bottom, quarterback, receiver, everything. Best he's ever had. The only thing he would say, the only thing that would be better would be Kenneth Walker, Derrick Henry. I think we know that conversation.
Mhm.
But that's where I view that whole thing with, and it's going to be a thing, for me, I trust Mike and John now more than they did the first year to get it right on who they want.
Yep.
And what I find surprising, though, down there, just my own 2 bits on this with the reporting again. Why has no one asked John Schneider or that, or asked around about what Seattle is doing at OC, knowing that after Sunday they do not have an offensive coordinator again? So that's something for me where I look at it and I go, maybe people should start asking, be an interesting question. But anyhow, Mike, let's move on. Seahawks versus Patriots. In your opinion, what is going to decide this game?
So, the easy answer is the trenches, obviously. That's how football is normally decided. So I'll avoid that. I think this comes down to kind of 2 areas. So the first part is the quarterback play. Can Sam do what Sam has been doing, which is what we had always hoped he could do, is to be this super souped up game manager / oh shit, he's actually just a top 10 quarterback. And I think we saw that in its prime, most beautiful, glorious version when he outdueled and went toe to toe with Matt Stafford. Can Sam take care of the ball? Can he find a way to get the Seahawks to 24 or 27 plus points or more, right? Because if you take care of the ball, the style of play, you're going to bleed the clock a little bit. Your defense is going to do a good job and probably getting in that 24 to 27 range or more, you're sitting pretty. For Drake May, does he have the Superman cape in him? Because he can't manage the game. This is not going to be the game where Ramondre Stevens runs for 140 yards, Travion Henderson runs for 80 and a big touchdown, and they have the football for 40 minutes. I don't think that's going to happen. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. I think the Seattle Seahawks can play their game. I think Drake May, and they'll be fine. I think Drake May has to be an absolute superstar. He has to elevate and be oh shit, okay, we're already starting the Drake May is him conversation, if that makes sense. And I think that's just which quarterback can do that. Can Drake May put on the cape, and can Sam Darnold avoid the gutter balls that have doomed many quarterbacks that have been compared to him over the years that have made this type of game, right? And then the other big one, and I think this one, I'm kind of surprised this one hasn't been built up as an epic heavyweight showdown. But why isn't there more talk about Christian Gonzalez, who I think is probably the second best corner in football, if not the best, going up against JSN, who I think is the best receiver in football, if not the second best receiver in football? That is 2 dudes that are absolute alpha, all pros at their spot. They're young, ascending players, and they're about to do battle in the Super Bowl. Because, if Gonzalez can shut JSN down, haven't seen it a lot, but if he can take him out of the game the way that a Stephon Gilmore did to the Rams a few years ago in the Super Bowl, if he can do that, I think this game turns into a defensive slugfest. And I think where Mike will get on Clint and be hey, we're playing field position and field goals. I'm not if kind of one of those things where if JSN or if Gonzalez picks off JSN on a deep ball or pretty early in the game, I just wonder if the game plan gets conservative. On the flip side, if JSN can score and get stuff going off on a player like Gonzalez, then I think this game could get out of hand really quick. Because if JSN does what he did in the NFC Championship game, the Patriots are not the LA Rams with that. I almost called them the St. Louis Rams. They're not the LA Rams with Devontae knowing that might be his last shot at a Super Bowl. Matt Stafford playing the best of his life. Puka playing the best of his life. That's not the Patriots. That's not the game they're built for. And if the Seahawks can get 2 or 3 real chunk plays and JSN goes 7 for 120 and a touchdown, I think this game is absolutely massively tilted in the Seahawks' favor.
So I think one of the things that's going to be interesting, and I talked about it with Coach Derek on our All-22 kind of breakdown, is how good are Clint Kubiak and the Seahawks at running tempo on New England? Because something that's interesting, if you look at Seattle defensively, they don't have to sub a lot. They don't sub a lot. They rotate their D-line, but they don't sub the back end much, right? Even Worry just bounces in and out of playing strong side linebacker.
Yep.
So you're 4-2-5 that goes to 4-3 and back and forth. New England doesn't function that way. They function very much like how Belichick's defense is used to, where it's a lot of sub packages. Now, again, the difference is those New England teams, you had Ted Washington at nose tackle or Vince Wilfork. You had Willie McGinnis and Teddy Bruschi. And, you had all these different, Mike Vrabel was one of the outside linebackers. Like, you had guys that could play the run and the pass. This group in New England doesn't have that. You're putting Landry out there in pass situations, and then you've got Tavia as your run-setting edge, which he's not even that good at, to be honest. Seattle, in my opinion, this game might be the one game where you fully unlock and unleash Ken Walker, and you don't try and, hey, we're going to save him, or we're not going to get, like, if Ken Walker touches the ball 35 times in the Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure he's going to win Super Bowl MVP. Like, I could see him walking out of the Super Bowl. I said it on a show I was on earlier today. Like, he gets 35 touches. I could see Ken Walker with like 130, 140 all-purpose yards and a couple touchdowns. I don't know how, in my opinion, New England can hang. They may hang for the first half. This may be like some of the normal Seahawks games we've seen this year where we're kind of like, what's going on? Like, Seattle should be blowing them out of the water, and it's only 17-10. And then you come out in the second half, and it's like Seattle hits the gas and just goes. The O-line's a big part for sure. I think what they're going to try and do is they're going to try and get Melton Williams lined up on Bradford as much as they can. That's like their go-to matchup. I don't know how they stop JSN. They can bracket him, go for it, and then you're going to let Shaheed and everybody else eat all day long. Cool. Like, they don't have a corner that can handle JSN or Shaheed's speed, really. Their safeties are slow. They're not great athletes. Like, this is where I look at the Patriots, and it's like when I look back at their games and how they got to the Super Bowl, there were points in every game where I was like, are they going to bench Drake May? Like, he's playing that bad. Are you going to bench him, or are you going to roll with somebody else? Because he's not playing that good. And I've heard the argument about Drake May's legs. They're so scary. Someone put that in the comments. How? It's not Vic back there. Like, we've played teams that have had better and more athletic quarterbacks and handled them just fine. I don't see Seattle spying him. What I think they're going to do is they're going to act like they're bringing the house, and they're going to bring it a couple of times, and they're going to bail out of it. And it's going to confuse the absolute living shit out of Drake May, because the other argument I've heard is, oh, Josh McDaniels. Like, he's such a good – yeah, Josh is a good OC. I'm not going to take that away from him. It's also helpful when most of your success has ridden the fact of being with Tom Brady.
Right. And
having him as your quarterback. When you hear the story of Brady leading into Super Bowl 49 going, yeah, I wasn't feeling our game plan. So the middle of the Friday night, me and Josh are meeting up and installing 5 new freaking red zone plays that we run and warm up on the Saturday, and we're good to go. And we scored 2 touchdowns on them in the Super Bowl. Like, you're not doing that with Drake May. And the other thing is, you watch that Denver game. When Denver went to 2 high shells, Drake May got confused, held onto the ball too long, took a lot of sacks. I'm just saying, like, Drake May is one of the highest sack quarterbacks against 4-man rushes this year, and Seattle is one of the best at getting home with 4-man rushes. And Josh McDaniel is not Sean McVay in the sense of how to devise proper blocking schemes, because he doesn't see it all that often. When I look at this game, to me, if Seattle's offense comes out and isn't even as hot as they were versus the champion or the NFC Championship game, this game could get out of hand quickly, because I just don't see that offense scare. Like, who's going to get open versus our secondary? None of their guys are faster than our guys in the secondary. Like, that's where I'm just trying to figure. I'm like doing the math in my head, and I'm just like, I don't see the outcome like Patriot fans are talking about. And they're trying to sell this like it's the same as 2001 Super Bowl with Brady's first one. And it's not, because that New England team generally was at a massive deficit. They went through a gauntlet. They went through the Raiders in the tuck game. They went through the Steelers and everything. Like, they literally got a cakewalk to the Super Bowl. It was like, don't stumble over your own feet there, kid. Like, just walk straight ahead and you'll make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and the Rams back then was a classic case of a team that didn't take care of the football. They went run and gun, and they went for broke, and they stopped giving the ball to Marshall Faulk in that Super Bowl. And you could have made a case halfway through the season, oh, well, the Seahawks, they go for broke. They're all or nothing, a lot of turnovers. Hasn't been the same team since that game in LA. Like, this is just a different team. This team plays ball control. They are running the football better. Their defense is holding up even against great defenses or great offenses. The offense knows when to step up. And again, it just goes back to, I think there's playing on all cylinders. And you look at the Patriots game plan, like, sure, you want to try and run the football. Everyone else has tried. Like, other than the LA Rams, nobody has even had remote success running against us. And giving remote success to the Rams is kind of a compliment and stuff. And what do we got here? What is he saying?
From Pat's Nation 49, Serban in the chat. Always good to. Oh, gosh. Here's what I'll say about the three teams that you guys played in your path to the Super Bowl. None of them run the wide zone offense. None of them run an offense that is remotely similar to what Seattle does and what we do well. And the way you guys run fit and the tendencies that you do have based on your personnel do not match up well against teams that want to run the wide zone offense. And this is where it'll be interesting to see. To your point, you guys have had a good run defense versus teams that like to run gap power because it's going downhill. It's going right at you, and you guys can close on it and collapse it. When a team wants to stretch you out horizontally, it presents lane integrity issues that I think are something like when in week 16, Baltimore started to do it, and I don't know why Todd Monken deviated from it. They were gashing you guys with it, and then they went away from it.
Yeah.
And it inevitably shot them in the foot in that game with their offense. But it could be a tighter game. I don't see it, but you know what? That's what ends up being played out on Sunday. We'll see then. But, Mike, let's kind of pivot here to this part. Pressure and expectations. Which team do you think is under more pressure to win on Sunday?
Is it bad to say I don't think either team should feel like there's more pressure? If you want to, then sure, you can say the Seahawks are favored, so there is more of an expectation for them. I think you can also make a case that both of these teams are a year ahead of schedule. Mm-hmm. And so it's more of like, well, is this the first of multiple Super Bowls that we're going to run into each other? Maybe. I also think like there's no player that's like, oh man, if he doesn't get it this year, I don't think he's ever going to get it. Like Big Cat and Tank Lawrence, they just don't have that pull, I think, with the media. Cooper Kupp already got his moment of glory. New England, I don't think there's anyone on that team. Like nobody's clamoring, oh my gosh, if Stephon Diggs doesn't get a touch, if he doesn't get the Super Bowl win, like there's not that. I feel like almost every other year it was kind of that someone going for that legacy moment and stuff. And so this year I just don't see it. I think the only thing I could make a case for other than the spread is if New England gets beat handedly. I think there's going to be a lot of talk in New England and in the NFL this offseason of, well, shit, they didn't belong. And they only got in because of just an absolute cakewalk of a schedule. I don't think it will be as loud that, oh, Seattle won the Super Bowl over a cakewalk team. And I think that goes away because we beat the Rams 2 out of 3 times this year. But I think New England would get a lot of shit if they get beat by 2 or 3 scores to us. And it's like, well, that sucked. That wasn't a very fun Super Bowl. And it looked like New England didn't belong. Man, it's going to be a lot of Bo Nix if Bo Nix was healthy. And I know that doesn't necessarily answer your question of who has more pressure. I just think there's more consequences if New England gets the doors beat off them.
No, and I think that's a fair point. I think when you look at this kind of situation, I look at it and I kind of agree with you that I don't know if one team is under more pressure than the other. What I will say, though, is I feel that I feel like there's a sense of needing to belong for New England more than there is for Seattle, just due to their path of how they got here.
Right.
Where there's people going, well, they didn't play that tough of a schedule. They didn't do this. They need to prove that they belong. Because, like, to your point, are you going to get people going, well, you guys didn't really play anybody of significance that was healthy? Like, the Chargers O-line was completely destroyed. And, you know, the Texans and Stroud didn't have an offense because Nico Collins wasn't there. And then you play, you know, the Broncos and you don't have Bo Nix. So
yeah. No, it like you're talking about, like,
question it, right?
Yeah, you're talking about, like, an equivalent of this is like if like a 4 seed in March Madness makes it all the way to the Final Four, and the 1 seed got beaten the 8-9 game. So the 4 seed got to avoid the 1 seed. And then on the other side, they end up seeing like a 6 or a 10 seed because the 2 and the 3 seed got upset. It's like, cool, yeah, you get to hang a banner. You made it to the Final Four, but, like, you beat a bunch of mid-level teams that pulled off the upsets. You didn't pull off the upsets necessarily. You got a nice path, right? Like, the Chargers probably were a top 3 or 4 seed type of team this year if they were fully healthy. They weren't. The Colts or the Texans had a Super Bowl defense, and CJ Stroud shit himself. There's no other way around.
That's
then
the best way to put it.
Yeah, and then it's not like the Broncos were a world beater. Like, there was a lot of evidence of some smoke and mirrors there at Mile High, and we'll never know because Bo Nix snapped his ankle while sliding, and so it's just a crazy series of fortunate events for the poor, just struggling fan base of the New England area. They can never catch a break over there with their Red Sox and Celtics and Patriots.
You
and
make
stuff,
it like Mike, you make it sound like they're so hard done by over there.
Yeah, it's been tough for them. But you know what? Nobody gives a shit. They're in the Super Bowl, and we'll see if they're ready to compete. I think you and I both agree they have a great young quarterback and they have a great coach.
I really like Drake May.
There.
I do. I really do like Drake May. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't like Drake May.
Yep.
It's just for me where I look at it and I go, it's a lot to ask of a young quarterback. Like, to me, as crazy as this sounds, it reminds me a little bit of when Ben Roethlisberger had his rookie year with Pittsburgh and they ran into New England in the playoffs, and he just wasn't prepared to handle that yet. And I think that's a fair thing to say about, you know, Drake May in the situation. Like, nobody in the AFC is playing this defense and playing it well, this style of defense. Like, we've seen the Mike McDonald disciples go off, and it's just failed. The only one that's run it well has been Minter, and that's basically it. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of all shapes up. But, you know, we talk about pressure, we talk about expectations. The one thing I want to ask you here, Mike, how much do you think the national media, if Sam Darnold goes out and say he does what he did in the San Francisco game, right? They get out, he throws a couple touchdowns, but he doesn't put up 200 or 300 yards like he did in the
doesn't win MVP.
Right. But he plays a game that's very, like, an in-between of the divisional and the NFC Championship game. So say he goes, I don't know, 24 of 19 or 19 of 24 for 240 and a touchdown. But Ken Walker has a day. The defense has a day. How much do you think the national media does this with the goalposts again?
It would happen. It would happen. If you're living in the First Take era, it'll happen. Because they need stuff to talk about. And if this is a non-competitive game, they will briefly talk about how the Seahawks are a real problem going forward and that this was a good lesson for Drake May and they'll be back in competitive next year. But it'll be probably a conversation that I would say is somewhat quiet unless it's like, hey, do you think Sam should have won? And they'll be like, no, he shouldn't have won. This person carried him, just like he's been carried before and stuff. And so I think that conversation would start to really pick up next year if there's any form of struggle. And unfortunately, that's just kind of the name of the game that comes with being the quarterback and you don't win MVP. There is an interesting list I saw the other day of just a lot of quarterbacks that don't win MVP and win Super Bowls, and it's a very weird group of guys that don't go back. They don't win it a second time for one reason or another. There's a couple stars in there. It's not like it's bad players, but there's just a difference. Sam Darnold, Super Bowl winning MVP quarterback. There's just something about it. It's hard to poke holes in it. Whereas Super Bowl quarterback, and then next to him on the Jimmy Fallon show the next day or whatever is Rashid Shaheed or Kenneth Walker or Nick Emanwari, like somebody that won MVP next to him. It's just different. It really is. Because if he wins MVP, this is like you're talking about pop culture. If he wins MVP, he's on the Daily Show. He's on the Good Morning America show. If it's Rashid Shaheed, then it's Sam and the guy, because people want to watch the quarterback. And you might be like, I don't give a shit. I kind of don't give a shit either. But First Take culture gives a shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like that style of radio talk will continue, even though he would have slayed Stafford in May.
Well, let's be honest. He would have slayed Purdy, Stafford, and May, right? Like, that's what we're talking about here. And people always want to throw Purdy into that top 10 conversation, even though I don't know what it's just. But that's a conversation where you look at it. In my opinion, if Sam wins the Super Bowl and doesn't win MVP, and he plays a good game, he plays a game that he's played all year.
It's probably what he wants, right? He probably doesn't even want to.
I know.
He's not a limelight kind of guy.
No. And so I looked at it and I go, okay, so you beat Brock Purdy twice. Mm-hmm. You beat Stafford twice. You beat Drake May. Like, the only quarterback I would say that, you didn't beat him this year, but you had a hell of a game was Baker Mayfield when the Tampa Bay team was at its prime. But you rolled through practically everybody else.
Yep.
And I'm sick and tired of the goalposts moving and people just not respecting the fact that Sam Darnold is a top 10 NFL quarterback. Because when you take away the initial four that everyone wants to talk about, which in my four right now, no particular order, Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Stafford are the four. And then 5 and 6, like 5's Lamar, 6 you could have I would throw Dak in that, but that 5 to 10 is always moving.
Yep. It is. It is 100%.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about some X factors. Give me an X factor on offense, defense, and special teams for the Seahawks on Sunday.
Yeah, I think for me, I kind of commented on your Seahawks syndicate, but sorry, my bad. One of the guys that I really am a big fan of, and I think they might have a really cool – I don't want to say it's guaranteed to be his retirement game, but I think Cooper Kupp could really benefit from the type of coverage JSN is going to get. And I think the ability that the Seahawks are going to have in running the football. I don't necessarily think that I don't think Kenneth Walker is going to have 4 40-yard runs. I don't think he's going to have that kind of a day, but I think he's going to consistently move the ball, get first downs, might have 1 or 2 explosive plays. But I think New England is just very steady in what they do under Mike Vrabel, that I don't think they're going to give up a lot of big home runs on the rushing game. That's just my opinion. And if they're going to allow enough running that we can run our play action, and they're going to just be like, we're not letting JSN beat us, I really think you could see a guy like Rashid Shaheed, but I'm going with Cooper Kupp. He's been here. He has dominated in this situation. I think that this is a scenario where when, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I ever was. In the words of the great Toby Keith, I think there is a real chance that Cooper Kupp, I'm not saying he's going to win MVP, but I think there's a real shot he's going to get 4 to 6 receptions for like legitimate yards. He might get, an explosive play. And I think he's a guy that could be an absolute monster in the red zone. Again, we're talking about Marcus Hobbs, who's a good cornerback. But like we talked about, there's a real size advantage that Cooper Kupp has. There's a size advantage Jake Bobo has if you want to go that route. But I'm going to go with a guy that has had an incredible career, and it might be his last game. But offensively, I'm going Cooper Kupp. And then defensively, I really just think Drake May, if you get pressure on him, I think he's going to throw the ball up. And a guy that nobody has talked about at all in these 2 weeks leading up to this game, who has just been, I think, absolutely fantastic since he got back from being injured for most of the year, is Julian Love. It's just a guy that nobody's really talking about. Nick Emanwari has taken all of the stardom, and that's cool. This pass, I'm getting my Chris Collinsworth ready to go. That pass rush is really good for the Seahawks. I think there might be a few balls that get thrown up there because Drake panics, and don't be surprised if it's Love that comes down with one and maybe even takes it to the house.
Okay, well, that kind of stole my thunder just a little.
Did I really? Who did I steal from you?
Julian Love. You stole Julian Love from me, so I have to pivot now.
We didn't talk about that either.
I know, which is funny. Okay, so I'll start with offense. For me, I think it's AJ Barner.
Love it.
Because
it's time.
I don't know if their linebackers can cover him all game long because of just the factor he can be, especially late in progressions for Sam. And I've just got a feeling he's due for a game where it's like, oh, look, there's AJ Barner with his 5 or 6 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. So I'm going with him on offense as an X factor.
You can talk about Love. What do you think? Like, doesn't mean
so. I'll talk about Love, but I'm gonna pivot to my number 2 on this.
I love talking about Love with you. Okay,
it's I do too, Mike. I do too. But I'd rather talk about the law first off.
Ooh.
And I'm going to talk about D-Law because I think he is going to have a Super Bowl breakout. He, to me, is just he's finally getting what he never got in Dallas. He's getting the opportunity to play in the Super Bowl. You saw the interaction between him and Ernest at the end of the NFC Championship. He, to me, I think is just I got a feeling he's going to end up with like 3 sacks in this game. Whether it's rushing against Will Campbell or whoever the right tackle is, I can't remember his name, but like his veteran presence, I think you're just going to feel it. And I think D-Law I think he's going to get one of those, going to be a strip sack. And we're going to be sitting there going like, this is what we missed when we lost Cliff Averill in Super Bowl 49. Like having our pass rush get home consistently. So I'm going to go with D-Law. The Julian Love factor, though, I think Julian is due for a game where he's just being that veteran safety, knowing where to be and baits the young quarterback a few times into a few mistakes and just ends up picking the ball off. But I think, at the end of the day, I got to go with D-Law on this. I'm going to go with D-Law because you took Love. But D-Law for me, the other one, my honorable mention, I'm going to throw him out here there. I think Byron Murphy could have a game.
Yeah.
Like, he could just have a game wrecking the interior. And we aren't even talking about Big Cat. Like, that's how crazy it is. But I think I'm going to go with D-Law as my X factor.
Ernest is interesting. Ernest is an interesting, like, if you're a better for defense or MVP, because, like, people forget Ernest, I think, leads the team in interceptions, right?
Yes, he does.
And he's going to get 7 to 10 tackles in this game. Like, that's a dude that could put up some stats. And if he gets one pick and can run with it, I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah, I like that. Special teams.
Special teams for me, I'm going with Michael Dixon.
Ooh.
His ability to flip that field, and if we can ping England a few times where they're starting on their 10 or their 5 or their 7, it completely changes the game. And there was something that I read. I got to give credit here to Cody Alexander from Match Quarters. I read it. So I'm going to give Cody the shout out here. He's talking about Mike McDonald in the defense and why we blitz at such a low rate compared to other teams. And he goes, most teams blitz you to make you panic. Mike McDonald blitzes to end your drive. Yeah. And I think it's the best embodiment of watching now back more of Seattle's times when they do blitz, it does end drives when they do it. Like Mike has it as his kind of like, here's my trump card for this drive. Boom, I'm playing this, and we're going to end it right now. And sometimes it bites him in the ass.
But more often than not, it works out.
Yeah, but more often than not, it works out. So it's going to be, those are my guys. I just think Dixon has been so good this year at flipping the field consistently. And you look at the punts he gave to the poor Rams punt returner that he bumbled 2 of them. Yeah. I'm going with Michael Dixon. So those are my X factors. I'm going AJ Barner, D-Law, and Michael Dixon for my X factors.
For special teams, we both think Rashid Shaheed's going to be a star, right? But I think something that hasn't been talked about is last time Jason Myers kicked in that stadium, he had a rough time. And I look forward to him having a much better performance that more accurately depicts the type of player that he was this season, which in my opinion should have been a Pro Bowl level kicker. But definitely it's hard. I mean, I can't sit here and say, yeah, last time at Levi's, he looked great. No, he looked horrible last time he was at Levi's Stadium. So I hope that is not a conversation that comes up again.
I think Myers will be just fine. I think he got his bad juju out because through the playoffs he's been absolutely fine. So we'll leave it there. But the other part of this question was franchise meaning. So I'm going to put it this way. We'll start with New England. If New England wins this Super Bowl, what do you think it means for that franchise?
I think it's shit. They're back. And even if they
hold on. You think it's a they're back kind of thing with all the other quarterbacks that could get healthy in that conference and everything?
But you got one. And so now it's one of those things where if you can get another one in the next 5 years, well, now it's 2-6 or 2-5. And now it's like, all right, well, you can't talk about this decade of football or this half decade, especially if they got another one before 2030, right? Like, and then again, if they do win, it just solidifies. It's a Belichick guy that won a Super Bowl. I think it immediately puts Drake May in that era of, well, man, he won one when he was 23. How many is he going to win in the next? He's going to play for the next 17 years, probably, right? Like that should be the expectation, right? And that will be a hill he'll always have to battle because there is a less than 1% chance he will equate the same level of success that Tom Brady achieves for that franchise. And the same thing goes for Mike Vrabel. But they can do something, and that's a team that could get 2 or 3 Super Bowl appearances in the next 7 or 8 years because we just don't know what the Chiefs are going to look like. We're heading towards a post-Andy Reid world, right? You just don't know how long Burrow's going to deal with the Bengals before he wants out. Josh Allen is snake bitten. We'll see if that changes. Lamar Jackson, kind of can't get out of his own way when it matters most, and so it's hard. And then the Broncos, until I see them do it, I still haven't seen them do it. And so if New England gets one, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, it only took them like 3 seasons to be back. It's crazy.
If New England wins for me, it will be the AFC as a whole is not going to let this become a NFC dominant decade.
Yeah.
Right? Like it'll be balanced is what'll happen is if they win. Because right now it feels like the NFC currently kind of holds the trump cards a little bit on their side with the teams they've assembled, the Rams, the Seahawks, 49ers, the Eagles. Like, Chicago's coming on. Green Bay had a decent year, even with their injuries. Detroit had a fall and slip up. But we're talking about a bunch of teams at that point, right?
Yes.
Where you look on the AFC side, you're kind of like, hey, like there's a lot of a mess there. If the Patriots do, and you get the Chiefs come back healthy, and you get,
here's the other side of it.
Yeah, the Bills now get back to being where they are now. It's like, oh, okay, so now there's some equaling out of the power structure of the NFL. On the flip side of that, if Seattle wins this, it brings us to 2-2 in our 4 Super Bowl appearances.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this, and this may be bold, and our one Patriot fellow in the chat there may not like what I'm about to say. If Seattle wins this Super Bowl, and this may be even kind of odd for other Seahawks fans to hear. I think there is a very strong possibility we are looking at a team that is about to start a dynasty run because of how young they are. You have an innovative coach, not to say that Pete wasn't innovative, but Pete struggled to innovate. You are with a guy that's like a McVay that will innovate on defense. And yes, again, he's got to get another OC, but as long as this defense stays the way it is with all the young pieces and they continue what they're doing, this team has a opportunity to really, in my opinion, start setting that wheel in motion. Because if Seattle wins the Super Bowl, do they not walk into next season as the favorite to go back to the Super Bowl?
No, they 100% would be.
Right.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. There's this game on Sunday does not resemble what we saw in 2001 with the New England Patriots being the underdog, beating the Rams. It does not. But I think as franchises, there is a lot of similarities. Brilliant defensive head coach, an offense that may not be the most sexiest, in this quarterback that when the Patriots upset the Rams, no one said, oh, Tom Brady's the best quarterback in the NFL. Nobody said that. They said, holy crap, this kid got it. Like he won it. And I think Sam Darnold is a little different than the Brady story, but in some ways also the similar unremarkable. Brady didn't become terrifying until kind of towards the end of the second
after
Super
the three.
Bowl.
Yeah.
And then he like became revered in 07. Right. And honestly, history 06, he basically was throwing to like UDFAs all over the field, and he was up 21-3 on Peyton Manning in the AFC Championship game. And then the next year they gave him toys, and he was the greatest thing the greatest quarterback I've ever seen was that year and stuff. And so if you win that, you have your brilliant guy, you have this young defense that has some veterans but has youthful talent. They survived the gauntlet, just like the Patriots survived the Raiders, which it was their year. The Steelers, it was their year. The Rams, it was their year. Like they defeated 3 Super Bowl winning caliber teams, in my opinion, that year. I think Seattle can do a similar thing. I really do. I know that the Niners were hurt. The Rams are one of the best teams I've ever seen. They're in the last couple of years, they were a fantastic team, and we beat them to go to the Super Bowl. And it's almost one of those things, like you said, if you want to look at it, like there's a path where nobody in the AFC necessarily scares you next year, right? It would take a Herculean effort from someone to defeat you, it feels like. And in the NFC, yes, it's ascending, it's getting better. But in our division, there's a lot of question marks in San Francisco. There's a lot of question marks with the Rams of who's coming back. And if the Seattle Seahawks get the number 1 seed in the NFC, history has been proven for over 20 years. You do not go into that house and you do not beat the Seattle Seahawks in the divisional round or the conference championship game, which means the Seattle Seahawks could be looking at a lot of Super Bowl appearances over the next few years.
Well, and that's the thing, right, that we're talking about, because if I look at even the coaching changes, how many were in the AFC this season, this coaching cycle, I should say.
Yeah. Quite
a few, right? Like
the majority of those 10, right?
Yeah. Like, that's where I'm kind of like, that's where I look at it and I go, like, again, you have more stability in the NFC. Yes, Arizona's flipped out their coach, so on. But, like, majority, we're talking Miami. We're talking the Steelers. We're talking the Ravens. We're talking, there's a whole bunch there. And it's one of those things where I look at it and I go, like, okay, who's going to be that terrifying team? Who's going to, scare us on that side? It's kind of interesting to me where I'm kind of like sitting there and I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, not really the most terrifying thing in the world that we have to deal with on the AFC side. And we're going to have to deal with more of our gauntlet in the NFC. The Rams, I guarantee you Stafford will be back next year.
Yeah.
Even Aaron Donald said it, that he figures Stafford will be back. So, okay.
They'll make another run.
And they'll go on another run. And you know what? I think San Francisco will get somewhat healthy and have one more kind of crack at the can.
Yep.
So that's where I look at it and I'm like, okay, what we have to play in this division again. And Mike LaFleur, I feel like, is going to be a better head coach than I can't even remember thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't even remember his name. That's how bad it was.
And then this might be a scenario where the Rams win the Super Bowl next year, and that would suck. But like, I think we're talking about sustained success where for a 5 to 8 year window, because of McDonald's coaching ability and because Sam Darnold and JSN being together and this offensive line being under contract together for such an extended period, this could be a really special group where, yeah, they're not going to win it every single year, but we might be looking at 3-5, 3-4, even 2-4 with another appearance, right? Like if you like after next year, there's a real route where that Niners team and again, there will be new ascending teams. It's the NFL, but the Rams and the Niners, if they don't get it next year, I don't think those groups are ever going to get it, right? Don't you?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to say the least on how this is gonna.
And one thing to remember is dynasties start like almost all these main NFL dynasties. Like they got that 1 year early. The 49ers were like got one in, I think it was 81 against the Bengals, and that was a year early, right?
Yeah, off the catch.
Yes, the Cowboys upset the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl, and they beat the Buffalo Bills that had been there. It was their third time there, and that was the youngest team in the NFL, and they won the title that year. The Patriots in 01, we talked about it. Like they got it a year early. And yes, the Patriots were not a very good team the next year, and then after that, they figured it out and stuff. And so just these dynasties tend to not be, oh, this is the year we're going to go get it and start. Like what the Chiefs and what the second dynasty of the Patriots did is not the norm for how most dynasties start in the NFL.
Agreed. I agree with you. So we've been rambling on now, Mike. Let's talk to the 12s and everyone in the chat. So let's go from the top here. We've got a donation right off the top from our man, Peter Go Hawks, with a $4.99 donation. Again, Peter, thank you for so much support over the last month here of the channel. Always appreciate you and your donations. Goes Super Bowl week, boys. Sunday needs to get here now. I need some dark side BTA 38-12. Hawks, baby. Super Bowl week is so damn slow now. Let's fucking go, Hawks.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Today was probably one of the slowest days I've ever felt because I was coming back from Mobile yesterday. I landed and I had the 2-hour change, and then I had to go back to work today. Man, it was tough. I was like, is it like, can I go home yet? Can I go start watching all the stuff on NFL Network? Like it I feel you there, Peter. I feel you. I can't wait for the Super Bowl. And funny enough, I will be going to a Super Bowl party, and the people I'm going to, one of their kids who I train as a quarterback is a massive Patriots fan. So I'm going to just give him all the grief in the world while I'm sitting there.
Hope so.
All right. We've got, sorry about that. Go to the next one here. We've got Old G in here. Goes, Bryce, you should be one of the assistant coaches, bro. I'd love to be. I'd love to be coaching in the NFL eventually. Hopefully, maybe that's a dream someday.
Hire Mike. Hire McDonald. Let's go.
Yeah, no kidding. I promise you this: if I do somehow end up as an NFL coach at one point or another, I will not stop running the Hawks Eye podcast. It will stay going on, even if that happens. I just may not be able to divulge as much stuff as I like to do. My film breakdowns might be a little bit better, though. Who knows? So what do we got here? We got Dennis goes, we need Mookie interviewing. He's the man, lucky man. Root them on. Go Hawks. Yes.
Oh, captain, my captain.
Exactly. Mookie, it does sound like Mookie will be on Syndicate on Thursday night.
Nice.
And then again, just so everyone's aware, kind of giving you a little bit of a preview, Saturday night, Mike's back, Mookie will be back, and I will be back, and we will be giving you guys a full Super Bowl preview with the three of us here on the Hawks Eye. And it'll be a little bit of a different format. It won't necessarily be so much of us talking about things. It'll be more about you guys giving us topics you want us to talk about for the Super Bowl. And we'll kind of just have a free-flowing, open conversation with you guys, listeners.
I would love to hear from them. So start thinking about it. I would love to hear on Saturday night what a Super Bowl win would mean for the fans, for them.
Yeah.
I would love to hear the comments. Like, we'll read them out. Like, I just would love to hear what it would mean to you guys.
All right, we got Michael Myers. Co's hats dope, Bryce. Yes, I
So
went
good
to
with the
Seattle. I ended up buying a few more hats to add to my lovely collection right there behind me. And to be honest, I'll be brutally honest with everybody. I'm actually terrible at picking the hats. I suck at it. The person that you can thank for my awesome hat collection that you all like.
Oh man, we're about to know who is in charge of the hats, and he freezes. What the hell?
Dude, I can't wait for my new internet to kick in. I'm so excited. Where did I cut out there? Where did I?
You literally were about to tell us who is the person that picks your hats. And
Perfect timing. Perfect timing. No, so I actually don't pick my hats. My wife, who is a diehard Raiders fan, is the one that picks all of my hats and is the queen of hat picking for that. So she picked this out. This was like $20. It was like on the clearance section at a Lids in South Center Westfield there in Seattle. So
how much Super Bowl gear have you bought? You don't have to say the price. You haven't bought anything. Are you waiting for the championship stuff? Oh.
I will not buy Super Bowl gear until we have won. I haven't bought any NFC Championship gear. Nada. I will only buy gear once we win the Super Bowl. Then I will buy a shit ton of the Super Bowl gear.
Yeah, I did.
That's my thing.
You're smart.
I will go to my Super Bowl party wearing my hat that I've worn on all the watch parties because currently it's Lucky Hat and my Rivals t-shirt, and that's it.
Yeah, I definitely have not bought any gear or anything.
Yeah, no kidding, none whatsoever, Mike. Peter Go Hawks back in here with another $1.99 donation. Goes, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment 12s.
Hell yeah.
Yes, guys, I am so close. I think currently my goal was to, before the end of the season, reach 2,000 subscribers, and we're getting close to that goal. Currently at 1,934. So if you know a Seahawks fan that enjoys Seahawks content, make sure to share the channel, get them to subscribe to it. Helps me out, helps get this content out into the algorithm there on YouTube. And as always, I appreciate everyone's support. The 800 of you currently that are watching, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on YouTube, always appreciate you guys and everything you do to help make this channel so great. We've got, I'd rather be flying an X-Wing in the $5 donation. Bryce, love you, man, but you got to get off that cage. Yes. Okay. I will say this. I promise you all, the Wi-Fi will be gone. It's the Canadian Wi-Fi. It sucks. I'll be honest. But I will have wired internet or Ethernet very soon before Saturday's preview show, and hopefully before the Syndicate show on Thursday. I will have wired internet, so everything will be better. There's a whole bunch of upgrades that will be coming to the show, technologically wise, over the off season. So it'll be a lot better that way. I promise you guys that. But thank you for the donation, X-Wing. Peter Go Hawks with another $2 donation, and share the shit out of this on social media. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it, man. Peter with a $9.99 donation goes, Bryce, I always thought Hugh Millen would be an awesome OC. His interviews about the Hawks offense are always so damn detailed. He's a film junkie and obviously a former QB. What are your thoughts? I don't know if Hugh's got the demeanor to be an OC in the NFL. You think about how he talked about Geno and stuff. He sometimes can't do that. I think he does know the game. Again, high-level quarterback, all those things. Sometimes it just doesn't translate well to being an offensive coordinator. But I love Hugh's stuff. I love what he puts out is content. I just don't know if he could be a coordinator at the NFL level. So it's an interesting thought, though. It's an interesting thought. Hey, I've heard people say bring Mike Holmgren back, so you never know. You never know. WD Ford with a $2 donation. Would you re-sign K9 without a proven play caller? Ooh, this is a really good question.
I think either options that we're talking about involve K9 being a part of the Seahawks future for the next 2 years, two or 3 years. So Arthur Smith, I think there's a lot of, despite what some people think, I think there is some proof that K9 could be successful in a marriage with Arthur Smith. And I think with if Outen's the guy, then obviously it's like running the whole thing back.
No, I tend to agree with you on that for sure. I was down Senior Bowl, obviously. And guys, I'm not talking about Senior Bowl. I know I talked on it with Syndicate. I will not be talking Senior Bowl and draft stuff, probably depending on how the Super Bowl goes. For a week or so afterwards, you'll get some reprieve. But me and Mike will be doing recorded positional breakdown shows throughout the offseason where we'll break down our 5 to 10 players for each position group, how they fit the Hawks, where we think they'll go. Mike is going to be the aforementioned draft guru with me on the Hawk side here. So you'll get both of us in those type of shows. But there are some interesting running back candidates for Seattle to draft, one being Kalen Black from Indiana, the other one being Katron Allen out of Penn State, are two that I really liked and what I saw at Senior Bowl, and I think would come in and be really good fits, especially Allen, I think, is someone to keep an eye on. But again, given if it's Outen or Arthur Smith, I do think Seattle's kind of in the position where they are going to probably re-sign K9. So
I agree.
Peter Go Hawks with another $5 donation. Peter, you are absolutely on fire tonight, man. Goes 3 sacks with a sack fumble, interception, 4 TFLs, 3 pass breakups. Nick E takes MVP. His MVP odds are at wow, plus 8,000. I may drop a couple more bucks Sunday. Oh, Peter, I love the gambling side of you there, my friend.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think about Nick Eamon-Warry potentially being Super Bowl MVP if that type of performance hits?
Tough. It's tough for the DBs to get it because you have to almost get 2 interceptions, or you got to get an interception, you got to take it to the house, and then you probably have to either get a fumble recovery or like a sack and a couple tackles. And it has to be a game where you win, like it's very even, or it's like you win 17 to like 10 and Nick Eamon-Warry is the reason why you got 10 points, if that makes sense.
Or it's got to be a blowout like Malcolm Smith.
Yeah, because Malcolm had tackles. He had a fumble recovery.
And a pick six.
That was the dagger. Would you have voted Malcolm Smith MVP of the Super Bowl?
No, I wouldn't have.
Well, who would you have gone with? Would you have gone Russ?
Nope.
Percy? Cliff Averill?
Nope.
I'm trying to think.
I would have gone Cam.
Cam. Oh, yeah.
Cam set the
There's so many
tone in
heroes for
Super
that game
Bowl.
I forgot. Cam set the tone.
He set the tone. He had an interception, and he was literally all over the place, wrecking havoc that game. I thought, not to take anything away from Malcolm Smith.
His numbers were better than Chancellor, but the
he was in the right place at the right time. That's
100%.
literally, he was the byproduct of
just like
Cliff
an NFC
Averill
championship game.
Yeah, byproduct of Cliff Averill hitting Peyton Manning's arm to cause the pick six. Byron Maxwell punches the ball out right at his feet. Like, he was in the right place at the right time. But like when I think of guys like, oh, if Malcolm Smith had gotten injured at some point and they had to play someone else, I don't know if there's a drop off because Cam hit Demaryius Thomas, who is their biggest, baddest receiver, and knocked him back 5 yards. And just like it was the Cam effect, right? Like it's just like, yeah, you knew this was over before it even started. So
for sure.
Peter Go Hawks, another $2 donation. It will be loud is Seattle when we repeat and with a new OC. Yeah, that will be interesting if that happens for sure. We got Robert in here. Goes the $4.99 donation. Winning the Super Bowl at San Francisco's backyard would simply be epic. I so badly want them, if they win, to dig up part of that field and bury a 12th man flag there somewhere. Just permanently. Yes. It's there all time. You never know where it is as a 49er person. It's there.
It is so cool seeing the giant Sam Darnold poster.
Oh, yeah.
Attached to Levi Stadium, and Fred Warner's complaining about it. Like, I love it, man. Give me that shit all day.
The thing that's so funny, and I don't know who's in charge of the NFL marketing and their ads, but usually, like, the Super Bowl jerseys that the guys wear in those ads are what they're going to wear in the Super Bowl.
And they did white, yeah.
And the Patriots did white, and Seattle's doing dark blue, but for all the ads, it's flopped. And I'm like, every Super Bowl I have seen prior to this, that has never happened. So I'm kind of like, this is like, who screwed up?
Something got mixed up, yeah.
So We've got Farah in here with Mike McDonald went up against Lamar Jackson every day for 2 years. He knows how to stop a running QB. Totally agree. We saw it this year with Cam Ward, Bryce Young. Like, he can handle running quarterbacks. I'm not worried about that. We've got some from SZK in here. Bryce that hat is fire. Yes, this is, and the cool thing is it's like starter jersey material. It's like all shiny. So it's one of my now new old school ones. I can't thank my wife enough for getting that. Peter Go Hawks, his hats are always dope. Yep, they tend to be. It's the wife and having one that definitely knows what she's doing when it comes to picking the hat game. Here's a good one. Raisin here goes, Bryce, what were your thoughts going into Super Bowl 48? Did you see any chance of a blowout happening like it did? I thought Seattle was going to win that Super Bowl by 17 points going into it. And that was because I did not see a way Denver's defense was going to be able to hang long enough. And I felt Seattle's offense was going to be, or defense was going to be able to take away stuff that Denver got easy throughout the year because of how good they were. I didn't expect it to be that type of a dominating performance, but I did expect Seattle to win that Super Bowl. I felt more confident in Super Bowl 48 than I did in Super Bowl 49.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be close. And the reason why I thought it was going to be close is because I thought the Seahawks offense was playing as poorly as it had all year. And even though the Denver defense wasn't very good, I just thought, well, Peyton's going to wake up out of bed and figure out how to at least get 3 scores, right? And so I remember in my mind thinking, all right, it's going to be like 27-24, or if Peyton Manning gets to 24 or more points, this game's over. If they don't get to 24 points, the Seahawks were going to win. But I'm with you. I thought Seattle was going to barely win that game, but I thought Seattle was going to lose the Super Bowl to Tom Brady.
They were so beat up going into that Super Bowl versus Tom Brady that I think it really played a factor, and then they had more in that game. Jason James in here, as always. He goes, we are a team, and the Patriots have a bunch of me guys. You can tell by the way they got off the plane. The Patriots are in fox fur coats. Seattle in all their jumpsuits, ready for business, mob mentality.
We'll find out on Sunday.
We will find out on Sunday. It'll be interesting for sure. We got Pat's Nation in here. Goes, this is going to be a really fun matchup. All around offense, defense, special teams on both teams are incredible. Yeah, it should be a good game. We'll see how it all kind of shapes up.
Yeah, their special teams are pretty good, no doubt.
Yeah, well, guess who their special teams coordinator is? It's our old one in Larry Izzo.
Yeah.
Pat's Nation comes back here. Will Campbell isn't getting talked about for how good he actually has been when he wasn't hurt, and last week he pitched a shutout. So I'm gonna kind of not push back on you here, Pat's Nation, a little bit, but just pressure-wise, looking at Will Campbell, yes, he didn't give up a sack in the Denver game. However, he gave up a hit, he gave up a hurry, so 2 pressures in total. In the 3 playoff games, he's given up 11 total pressures, which isn't great for a left tackle in that situation. He gave up 2 sacks to Houston, 2 hurries, and he gave up 1 sack versus the Chargers and 4 hurries versus the Chargers, as well as 5 total pressures in that game. Like, his pass blocking grades out on PFF, and again, take those with a grain of salt. 16 against Houston, 59 versus Denver, and 60 versus the Chargers. When I watch the tape of Will Campbell, he's athletic. But the thing that Will Campbell gets in trouble with is when he plays against veteran D linemen that understand he has short arms. And that's a big issue when you're playing against guys that understand how to bull rush and get into you quickly with their long arms. It can make things challenging. Again, I'm not saying he's not going to be I think he's going to be a very good left tackle for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I just wouldn't say he is playing his best football right now.
And spoiler alert, we have what would be a concern for him in spades.
Correct. We do. And just, again, to put some context to Will Campbell's, grades, he missed 5 games this year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He gave up 26 total pressures. He gave up 5 sacks, 5 hits, and he ranked 43rd amongst NFL tackles. Out of 89 NFL tackles, he ranked 43rd. So middle of the pack for left tackle. As a rookie isn't bad, but I don't think it's also something to feel overly confident in these type of situations. But we'll see come Sunday. Peter Go Hawks back in here. Another $2 donation goes. Imagine having 2 vacation homes in Cali, Levi, and SoFi. That would be.
We'd own that over them forever. Unbelievable. Or if we win, we're gonna own that over the 49ers forever.
And for me, the ranking of hatred within our division, it goes 49ers, Rams, Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Go Hawks here with another $2 donation. Don't forget me, Bryce. I started for the OC run. Yes, you did, Peter. I do appreciate you for that. So I definitely, if I do get an OC, I'll make sure to give you a renounding, mention at my press conference if I ever do get hired. And we've got one here from Feed Me More Seahawks. Appreciate you being here. Feed me. I know you hopped over from Brandon's side on the Hawks Nest, and I appreciate any support from you. Goes $2 donation. Bryce, could you be the big Dom of the sideline? Actually, that wouldn't be a bad role for me.
That should be your Halloween costume this year. Upcoming.
That should be. I should be big Dom. That would be a good one. I got called. I think someone in our comments on one of our shows called me or said that I'm very thick with the THICC as a compliment. So I'll take that. I'll take it. Hey, absolutely. I got told it was a compliment.
Let's go. Let's go.
So let's have a look here and see if there's any more comments to pull up. There we go, Brian. He'd make a fantastic big Dom. His guns are as big around his fucking legs.
All right.
Oh man. All right. Appreciate it, guys. I feel like Brock Heward's on here and we're now having a body composition conversation right now. We got Noob. I still remember San Francisco's Christmas bounty on DK. This would be ultimate revenge. Yeah, that would be ultimate revenge for sure. There we go. Feed Me's got it. Big Bryce. I'll take it. Let's see what else we got in here, Mike, before we wrap up tonight's show. Rock man, I'm just here so I don't get fined. By the way, have you seen I don't know if you saw it, Mike. I put it in the Discord chat on the Hawks Eye for the general. It's Marshawn's like new beast mode commercial, and he's putting, and he's got a dude that you would think is like someone that plays Dungeons and Dragons talking to him. It is absolutely hilarious. I strongly suggest you guys go and check it out. It's pretty good. I was pretty impressed with it. What else do we got in here? Just to have a look. Ooh, this is a good one. Old G goes, Derek Hall is gonna feast. Ooh,
there's always somebody that nobody talks about that makes a big
goes off.
Yep.
No, I would be okay with Derek Hall going off.
Watch it be Boye Mafe gets 2.5 sacks and a forced fumble and is like, see y'all later. I just was saving it for the Super Bowl.
Oh man, if he goes off, that would absolutely.
Then he gets like $15 million a year to go to the Raiders or something.
Here we go. Question: do I see Batman tattoos from the Comic Binge? Yes, you do. Comic Binge. My whole right arm is, and I know you guys can't see it, but I've got the Joker. I'll try and show it. I've got the Joker on my inner forearm here, right there with the crowbar. I have Robin up here, and I have Catwoman behind me, and I have Batman on the arm. I'm still not done my sleeve yet, but I do have an entire arm sleeve on my throwing arm for football. Is going to be the city of Gotham and all the Batman characters. Two-Face, Nightwing are all there. So yes.
Sweet.
Feed me more Seahawks. You hear Joe Burrow say he is happy in Cincinnati, and he was just saying he was having a bad day at his press conference.
Hope so, because I hope the Rams don't trade every one of their picks for him.
I don't think the Rams will, to be honest. I'm going to be interested.
Left.
Yeah, that's
unless he retired, which would be a stunner. I'd be stunned if he retires, but
it feels like it's a bit of walking back because I think he may have overreacted, but at the same time, it's now out there and it makes teams interested if they're gonna call you out on it. So Peter Go Hawks, another $2 donation. I appreciate you, Peter. He goes, no need for the shout out. Season ticks on the 50.
Nice.
Oh boy, I'll see what I can do if I end up being an OC for the Seahawks. I'll work my magic. See if I can help you out there, Peter. Let's see what else. Oh, here we go. Ian Victor, one of our moderators in the chat. I think Ian's the only one that's in here tonight modding the chat. So appreciate you, Ian. Got to make an off-season prediction video or live stream. I believe it's going to be a great off-season for the Hawks, even though we lose some players and coaches. Yeah, I will be doing all that stuff post Super Bowl. So let's see if we got Noob. Yes, Batman has helped me through many hard times for sure. I've got a whole comic section, all the movies, a bunch of Lego stuff with it. Batman has definitely been one of those kind of characters for me. So well, it's definitely been one of those characters for me. But Michael Meyer here. I'm a pro tattooer, Bryce. You should check my work for sure. Send it to me on Instagram or on DMs. But Mike, we're gonna get out of here. We'll talk about our predictions for the show, for our preview show on Saturday.
Yep.
The one thing I'll say to everybody in here: enjoy this. Don't take it for granted. We know how hard it's been to get back here. Don't get hyper focused on, what the outcome may be or may not be. Just enjoy the ride, be loose, be focused. And we will see you guys all on Saturday back for another Seahawks preview show. And before that, if you guys haven't, check out Seahawks Syndicate. We'll be live Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time for a show. Then we've got the Seahawks preview show on Saturday. If you guys haven't already, check out, and I'll put it up in the corner here quickly before we get out of here. Check out the QR code. It's got all the stuff to find the Hawk's Eye, and we will see you guys next time. Stay loud, be proud. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.